You ever look up at the sky and think, hey, those clouds are basically sky pirates, stealing water from the heavens? Well, maybe they are. Maybe they're just lazy. Clouds are basically water's way of taking a vacation. Instead of being in the ocean, they're floating around, pretending to be fluffy pillows. So, how do they steal water from the sky? Well, it starts with the sun, being a little too friendly with the earth. The sun heats up the water, and then the water turns into invisible ghosts called water vapor. Then those ghosts float up, and that's where the clouds come in. So clouds are basically the sky's version of a water storage unit. They're holding onto the water vapor like it's their favorite snack. And if you ever feel like the sky's been holding out on you, just remember, the clouds are the sky's way of saying, don't worry, we're saving the rain for later. So, what exactly are we talking about? Let me rephrase that. What the heck are clouds even doing? Are they like sky pirates stealing water? Or are they just lazy clouds chilling in the sky? Well, clouds are basically giant, floating cotton candy made of water droplets. They're not actually stealing water, but they are kind of holding onto it. Like, imagine if you were holding a bunch of water in your hands and not letting go. So clouds are like the waiting room for rain. They're holding the water until it's time to let it go. And if they're too full, they just drop the water like, boom, rain. But here's the kicker, clouds don't steal water. They're just borrowing it from the sky. And when they're done, they either send it back down as rain or let it evaporate back up. So, in short, clouds are not thieves. They're more like the sky's personal water storage unit. And if you're still wondering if they're stealing water, the answer is probably not. But they're definitely holding it. Okay, so clouds aren't just pretty, fluffy stuff. They're like the sky's version of a thief, but not the kind that steals your wallet. They steal water, and you, my friend, are the one who ends up holding the bag. Imagine the sky is like a giant soup pot, and the clouds are sponges. They soak up the moisture, then drip it down as rain. But you're the one who gets soaked when it rains. You might not notice it, but every time it rains, you're basically getting a refund from the sky. The clouds took the water, then gave it back to you. It's like a free water delivery service, and you're the customer. And if you're in a drought, the clouds are basically the sky's version of a loan shark. They take the water, then demand it back as rain. You owe them, but you don't even know it. So yeah, you're not just looking at clouds. You're watching a water heist, and you're the one who gets the water in the end. Not bad for a free ride. So, back in the day, way before we had fancy weather apps, people thought clouds were magical water spirits. They just float around, looking like fluffy cotton candy, and then poof, rain would come out of nowhere. But we didn't know then what we know now. Clouds are just giant water balloons made of tiny droplets. They're not magic, they're science, and they're totally stealing water from the sky. Then came the 19th century, and scientists started using thermometers and barometers to measure the sky. They realized clouds weren't just spooky shapes, they were part of the water cycle, stealing water from the sky in a way that's totally normal, but also kind of creepy. Today, we have satellites and weather models, but the basics are still the same. Clouds are just water in the air, and they're stealing water from the sky in the form of rain, snow, or even hail. It's like they're the sky's version of a thief, but also its best friend. So yeah, clouds are basically the sky's go-to-water thief. They're sneaky, they're efficient, and they've been doing this since the beginning of time. Just don't let them catch you in the rain. So, here's the deal. Clouds are basically giant sponges in the sky. They soak up water vapor and then, boom, they make rain. It's like when you leave your socks in the laundry and they just disappear. Except the sky's doing it on purpose. But wait, clouds don't steal water from the sky. They borrow it. Like when you borrow your friend's soda, you promise to return it. Except clouds don't return it. They just keep it. And then it rains. So when you see rain, you're basically seeing clouds saying, thanks for the water, sky. Let me keep it for a while. And then, poof, it's gone. Like magic. Except it's science. The sky gives the clouds water, and the clouds give it back to the earth. It's like a loan, but clouds are bad at paying back. They just make it rain and then take off. Like a kid who borrows a toy and never gives it back. So in short, clouds are sky sponges. They take water and then they make it rain. It's a win-win. Unless you're a plant, and you're just waiting for the water to fall, which honestly, you're doing great. So, first things first, the sky isn't just empty space, it's basically a giant, invisible swimming pool. And guess what? It's full of water vapor, like the air after you take a really long shower. But wait, the sky's not a pool, it's more like a really, really big sauna. The sun heats the ground, and the ground heats the air, and that's how water gets into the sky in the first place. Okay, so the clouds have this water vapor, but it's not really water yet. It's like a ghost of water, floating around in the air. But ghosts can't stay forever, so they need to find a way to become real water again. That's where the magic of condensation comes in. Imagine your bathroom mirror when you take a hot shower. The steam hits the cold glass and poof, water appears. Same thing happens in the sky, just on a much bigger scale. So the clouds are basically like a giant sponge, soaking up all that invisible water vapor. But they don't just absorb it, they trap it, making it heavy and ready to come back down as rain or snow. But here's the kicker, clouds don't steal water from the sky, they borrow it. The water's still up there, just hanging out in the air until it gets too heavy for the cloud to hold. So the whole process is like a lazy water party. The clouds collect the guests' water vapor, and then when they get too full, they just send them home, and the water falls down to the ground like a giant, slow-motion sprinkler. Okay, so the water is in the sky, but it's not in a bottle. It's more like a bunch of tiny droplets hanging out, waiting for something to happen. Then, guess what? The clouds are like really good friends who say, hey, let's play hide and seek with this water. We'll make it stick around a bit longer. But here's the twist. The droplets get heavier, and when they get too heavy, they fall down as rain or snow. The clouds are like the cool, chill hosts who let the water go when it's time. So the clouds don't steal the water. They're just like the cool, chill hosts who invite the water to hang out and then let it go when it's ready to come down. So here's the real secret. No magic, no fairies, just physics. Water vapor is like a shy kid in a crowd. It just floats around until it finds a buddy to stick with. When that vapor meets a cool surface, like a leaf or a window, it gets a little nervous and turns into a liquid droplet. It's like a shy person getting a little teary-eyed. Now, when there's a lot of these droplets hanging around, they start to get crowded. They don't like being alone, so they stick together and form a cloud. It's like a group project gone viral. But clouds don't just sit there. They're like a party that's about to start, and they need to bring the rain. So they try to get the droplets to grow bigger, like a group of friends trying to get a cake bigger. When they get big enough, gravity pulls them down. It's like a bunch of balloons getting too heavy and just letting go. That's how it all starts, with a little science and a whole lot of gravity. Okay, so imagine the sky is like a giant, lazy sponge. It's soaking up all this water, but it's not gonna let it go just because it feels like it. So it has to find a way to sneak it out. Now, clouds are like the sneaky cousins of the sky. They don't ask permission. They just grab the water and take it. It's like when your little brother takes your snack without asking. But here's the kicker. The sky isn't just giving up water for fun. It's part of a bigger plan, like when you take a bath and then dry off. The water has to go somewhere. So the clouds are like the messengers, taking the water down to the ground. It's not sealing, it's just a very polite, very slow transfer of water. And that's how clouds steal water from the sky. Not in a bad way, just in a very water-related, slightly sneaky way. Like when your mom says it's for your own good and you know she's lying. So here's the part that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's actually science. Clouds don't just float around doing nothing. They're basically sponges made of water vapor. They soak up the sky's moisture like a sponge soaks up a wet paper towel. Quick word from our sponsor. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, take a look at the Stanley Quencher 40 Oz tumbler. There's a link and a QR code on screen right now, and in the description below. Alright, back to it. But wait, they don't just steal water from the sky, they borrow it. The air is full of water vapor, and clouds are like the sky's favorite loan sharks. They take the vapor and hold onto it until it's time to rain. And when the cloud can't hold the water anymore, it's like a sponge getting too full. The water comes back down as rain or snow, which is basically the sky paying back its loan. It's a really polite way to get rid of water. So yeah, clouds aren't just floating around being cute. They're doing a whole lot of water trafficking in the sky, and it's actually super important for the weather and the water cycle. Just don't blame them for the rain. Okay, so the first myth is that clouds are like sky pirates stealing water. But wait, the sky doesn't have water to steal. It's more like the sky is a giant oven, and clouds are just the cookies that get baked in there. Clouds are made of water vapor, not water, so they're more like invisible mist, not actual liquid. It's like saying a fog is stealing water from the air. That's not how it works. Also, if clouds were actually stealing water, we'd have giant puddles in the sky. But instead, they just make it rain when they get too heavy. so it's more like they're borrowing water, not stealing it. So, to recap, clouds don't steal water, they're just the water's way of taking a vacation in the sky before it comes back down as rain. No theft, just a drip. So, here's the thing. Clouds don't actually steal water from the sky. They're more like the sky's version of a waiter. They're just carrying the water around, not taking it. You know how sometimes you're at a restaurant and the waiter brings you a drink, but it's not really yours? That's basically what's happening here. The cloud is just holding the water until it's time to give it back. So the idea that clouds are stealing water is like saying the waiter stole your drink. It's not really stealing, it's just being a temporary host. Also, the sky is like a giant bathtub and clouds are just sponges soaking up the water. They don't steal, they just soak and then drip it back down later. So, no stealing, just borrowing with a side of drama. And if you're still confused, just think of it like your mom lending you her car. She's not stealing, she's just letting you use it. So here's the kicker, clouds aren't just pretty, they're also kinda sneaky. You think you're seeing the sky, but you're actually watching a water heist in slow motion. You see that rain? That's the aftermath of the clouds getaway. It's like when you leave a snack out and the ants come and take it all. And guess what? You're part of the crime scene. Every time you step outside, you're just helping the clouds plan by letting it fall on your head. But hey, don't worry, it's not a real crime. It's just nature doing what it does. And honestly, it's kind of cool how the sky is always robbing us of water. So next time you see a cloud, remember there's a whole water mystery happening up there, and you're just the witness to the whole thing. Okay, so imagine this, a sunny day, no rain, and suddenly boom exclamation a storm rolls in. That's not a storm, that's a cloud stealing water from the sky. It's like a thief in a sky heist. The cloud didn't just show up, it was working with the weather, like a team of water thieves with the plan. They're not stealing, they're redistributing, but it's still a theft, in a way. And then boom, the cloud drops all that water down as rain. It's like a sky bank that suddenly decides to give out all its money. The earth gets wet, the plants get happy, and the ground gets a nice bath. But here's the kicker, the cloud didn't steal the water, it just borrowed it. The sun made it, the air carried it, and the cloud was just the delivery guy. So, no real theft, just a weather service with a side of drama. So next time it rains, remember, it's not a cloud stealing from the sky, it's a cloud doing its job. And maybe, just maybe, it's also a thief. That's the sky, you never know. So, the clouds aren't just lazy, they're like sky ninjas, sneaking water out of the air faster than you can say cloud rain. They're basically the sky's version of a water thief with a side of drama. In some places, like the Amazon, clouds can dump so much water in a day. It's like the sky's got a leak and you're the one trying to catch it with a bucket. And if you think that's wild, imagine a cloud so big, it could fill a whole lake in a single day. That's not just a cloud, that's a sky monster with a thirst for water. So, next time you see a cloud, remember, it's not just floating around, it's playing a high-stakes game of water theft, with the sky as the referee and the ground as the scorekeeper. And you're just the audience, or maybe the winner. Okay, so the clouds are like the sky sponges, but sometimes they get too thirsty, and when they do, they start crying, not literally, but kind of. This rain isn't falling down, it's falling sideways, like a water slide gone wrong. It's not pretty, it's just messy. Now the clouds are out of water, and the sky is just staring at you like, hey, what's up with the rain? So yeah, clouds can steal water, but if they steal too much, well, that's just how the sky plays its weather games. And that's the end of the clouds water heist unless it's the beginning of a flood. Okay, so clouds are like the sky's lazy sponge. They soak up all that moisture, but then they don't just let it fall back down. They hold on tight, like a toddler with a toy. And guess what? That water isn't really stolen, it's just borrowed for a while. But here's the kicker. When the clouds do finally let go, it's not just rain. It's a whole bunch of different stuff. Some of it falls as rain, some as snow, and some even evaporates back into the air before it hits the ground. It's like a water balloon that never actually lands. And let's not forget the clouds that never even make it to the ground. Some of them just float off into the atmosphere, like a cloud that's too lazy to even try to rain. They're basically the sky's version of a couch potato. So yeah, clouds aren't really stealing water. They're just the sky's version of a loan shark. They take it, they hold it, and eventually, they return it. But sometimes, they just keep it for themselves. And that's totally fine. The real problem isn't the clouds. It's the fact that we're using way more water than the planet can naturally handle. Clouds are just the weather forecast for the water crisis. And honestly, they're doing better than most of us. So, how do we even figure out clouds steal water? Well, it's kind of like when you're in a room and someone says, hey, that light bulb is actually a spaceship. You're like, wait, what? Turns out, Ancient people noticed that after rain, the air felt different, like the sky had sweated or something. They didn't have microscopes, but they had a lot of patience and a lot of staring at the sky. Then, some smarties started connecting dots. Like, oh, wait, the clouds are made of water, and when they get heavy, they dump it down. So they're basically sky sponges. And then, boom, we had the water cycle, like a giant, slow-motion, never-ending water roller coaster. Clouds are the ride, and we're just the passengers watching it all happen. So yeah, we figured it out by being curious, making weird analogies, and not giving up on the sky. Just like when you're trying to figure out why your socks keep disappearing. Okay, so here's a weird thing. What if the clouds are like, hey, I'm not going to just sit here and wait for rain to fall. I'm gonna go get it myself. Imagine the sky is a giant, invisible ocean, and the clouds are like, I don't want to just float around. I want to drink the water. It's like if you had a glass of water and you kept saying, I'm not thirsty, and then you just kept holding it. In the end, the cloud still ends up getting the water, just not in the way you'd expect. It's like a passive-aggressive rain cloud. So yeah, the clouds aren't just floating around. They're basically like, I'm gonna take what I want, and I'm not sorry. Okay, what if we took this cloud idea and ran with it? Like, what if we made a giant cloud machine that just siphons water out of the sky? Imagine if we could build a cloud factory, where we take moisture from the air and turn it into usable water. Sounds like a dream, right? But wait, the sky isn't exactly a water fountain. It's more like a big, invisible sponge that gets wet when it rains. So stealing from it would be like trying to drink from a sponge that's already dry. But if we could somehow make the sky more wet, maybe we could harvest more water. It's like turning the sky into a giant, never-ending rain cloud.
Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.